So for me, I think one big thing as a parent is this has only happened after I started exploring my own ADHD and journey and how I was as a kid. That teaching kids self-compassion is super important. And I think that to me is probably the number one thing I try to do as a parent for my kids. My name's Himanshu. I look after two kids. I think of my role as a father as probably the most important part of my identity, because I feel that's where I can contribute a lot. I do have a corporate job in a bank and a very happy, stable married life. In my personal life, I value my relationships in a big way. So actually, when I think about who I am, I'm also a very close friend to many people. I'm also a mentor to many people, and also feel myself as an active member of the community. I think diagnosis all around has been very helpful for me. If I think about how things were not going well before as a parent, I wasn't paying so much attention to observing these things that I used to struggle as a kid. And now I see sometimes my daughter struggling with it as well. It doesn't manifest in exactly the same ways, but I used to struggle a lot in doing things on time, assignments and probably administrative chores that I don't like. And she struggles with it as well. So diagnosis, and as such, figuring out what are the ways to take remedial steps in myself, kind of apply to my daughter as well. And with her, I can take some other steps to say, how do I build the right habits for her? So those habits automatically take care of some of these challenges that otherwise come up when you don't have a system or structure in place. One thing I realize as a parent is when I now see my daughter, especially as she's older, she's 8 years old, struggling with something, I can sense that the mental dialogue she has is fairly uncompassionate. The fact that I would beat up myself a lot because I used to compare myself to other kids. I would see, all the kids my age were reading novels or reading other books and so on. I couldn't, so I would say, okay, something must be wrong with me. Or I would see some people preparing for exams in advance or whatever. I think that just the fact that people are different, I would compare, and the mental dialogue for me was very harsh. So I see a lot of that in my daughter as well. What I do feel, I think as parents, we can do a lot better is help them coach through this. So what are you telling yourself? Could you say it out loud? How are you saying it? In what tone are you saying it? What words did you use? Or how about we use this word instead of this word, which is a more compassionate word and not so harsh? And what is the reason for this? Is it because you were comparing? It's interesting because I was diagnosed fairly late in my life, about 4 years ago when I was 36 years. But there was a period I was really struggling at work. There was something that was fairly simple, relatively simple. Let's say the task requires 2 hours to do, but I just couldn't accomplish it. I spent the whole of Friday in office. I didn't do it. I went back to office on a Saturday, spent 6-7 hours there, didn't do it, just couldn't get around doing it because it was something that I didn't like and I couldn't get started. Went back on a Sunday after that and I still couldn't do it. And I was like, I have spent maybe 20 hours just fussing about this thing and not being able to do it. I'm spending time away from my family, and the outcome is somehow just not matching what I think is my ability to complete this thing in 2 hours. So I knew about this employee assistance program at work where I can seek help from a mental health professional. The psychologist actually at the end of the first session itself said, this may be ADHD. I somehow used to self-diagnose and think I may be bipolar because I thought I'm sometimes very productive and sometimes I just can't do things. But frankly, now I understand better. We had a few more sessions. I met a psychiatrist as well and was formally diagnosed. Since then, in about 4 years' time, it has been a very interesting journey of self-exploration, figuring out, and a lot of things just stick. I was looking to start doing something, and I was actively championing mental health within my organization for the last few years. I wanted to do something outside my organization, outside the financial services industry, where typically I would be operating otherwise, to do something for our society. And I came across Moon Lake, the founder of Unlocking ADHD, and with community, you feel more confident to share and open. And perhaps once you share in the community, you can share outside the community, and which brings about a lot more acceptance of mental health issues in our societies. what it has brought about in me is that I'm able to articulate myself a lot better. Yeah, even yesterday, I think me and my spouse were discussing something. She said, "Why are you behaving in such a way?" She didn't like that. I said, "Okay, good, you shared that with me. I think I'm behaving this way because of so and so. And none of this has anything to do with ADHD, but because I have built this ability, or not even the ability, the openness to think through why am I feeling something, why am I behaving in some way as a result, I could explain. So when I could explain my response, she could understand it a lot better of why. And obviously, relationships are like this. If you are able to understand each other better, then the relationship becomes a lot stronger. So the diagnosis is very important. Not that what they told me in the diagnosis or the medications, they themselves weren't so important, but it just triggered in me this ability to self-explore and self-experiment off the back of that.